We're focusing on the escrow and closing process, a critical topic for the California real estate exam. Escrow is the process where a neutral third party, known as the escrow holder, manages the funds, documents, and instructions required to complete a real estate transaction. The most important word to remember for the exam is neutral. The escrow holder does not work for the buyer or the seller. They work for the transaction itself, acting as an impartial stakeholder. The exam will try to trick you with questions suggesting the escrow officer has a duty to advise one party. They do not. Their sole responsibility is to follow the written escrow instructions provided by the buyer and seller. These written escrow instructions are the heart of the process. Think of them as the rule book for the closing. The exam will test you on the fact that these instructions must be in writing and signed, and that escrow cannot close until every single condition within them is met. A common exam trap involves verbal agreements. For instance, if a buyer tells the escrow officer they need to delay closing until their other home sells, but this is not in the written instructions, the escrow officer must ignore it. They can only act on the signed, written directions. Any changes must be made through a formal, signed amendment by both parties. Let's walk through the key steps and how they're tested. First, the buyer's earnest money deposit is sent to the escrow holder, not directly to the seller. The escrow officer then orders a preliminary title report to check for any liens or encumbrances that could cloud the title. The exam loves questions about clearing title. All unexpected liens must be paid off before the property can be transferred. Next, the lender submits its own set of instructions and loan documents that must be satisfied before they will fund the loan. Prorations are a guaranteed math section on the exam. This is the process of dividing ongoing expenses like property taxes and HOA fees between the buyer and seller. For example, if a seller prepaid their property taxes for the full fiscal year, which runs from July 1st to June 30th, and the sale closes on April 1st, the buyer will have to reimburse the seller for the 3 months of taxes they prepaid but won't own the property. This will show up as a credit to the seller and a debit to the buyer on the closing statement. Remember, for exam purposes, prorations are often calculated using a 360-day year, or a banker's year. Here's a phrase to remember the core requirements. For escrow to close, all conditions must be final. Conditions, meaning every written instruction. Must be, signifying they are mandatory. Final, meaning no verbal changes. The final steps are funding and recording. The lender sends the loan funds to escrow, and once all conditions are met and the accounting is balanced, the escrow officer authorizes the title company to record the grant deed with the county. Recording is the official moment that ownership transfers. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.